Right, and those are some of the stories that we are following up for you this day. Of course, our reporters on the ground for the latest updates on what's happening across the country and beyond. But for now, the stage is set for the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations FAO for World Food Day and the World Food Forum WFF for vital initiatives in the global efforts to transform agri-food systems and address the challenges of food security, sustainability, and climate action. World leaders, experts, international financial institutions, public figures, and private sector, and youth as well as indigenous activists will come together starting today, October 16th, with a high-level celebration hosted by FAO Director General, and then moving on to a whole week of events, dialogues, and forums, and even labs focused on youth, science, and innovation, as well as investment at the WFF. And it's World Food Day, definitely. Where are we here in Kenya, and what can be done? Our guests this morning include Abdikadir Aden Abdullah. He is the director at the Consortium of Cooperating Partners, that's COCOP. And next to me is Ernest Chitechi, who is the Corporate Services Manager at the Kenya Climate Innovation Center, KCIC. That's right.
Yes,
you know, I used to think it's KCSC.
Yeah, KCIC.
But it's KCIC, the Kenya Climate Innovation Center. So let me begin with you, Ernest, on the World Food Day and where we are as a continent. You know, we're coming from a very prolonged drought season, which has affected so many Kenyans right here. That's hunger and malnutrition. So this is not a new subject for us. So what is the significance of this day, looking at where we are coming from and where we are as a country?
Okay, thank you, Purity.
Yeah.
When you're looking at the World Food Day, maybe we should start from the onset.
Yeah.
Why are we discussing food?
Right.
Because as human beings, we need good food, nutritious food, and this then addresses quite a number of issues for human beings. So one being that nutritious foods makes people more healthy, people able to afford that type of food. Is it accessible to the population? So those are the beginnings. So as we look at the World Food Day today, which is focusing on water, what is life, what is food, and leave no one behind, we should be discussing how do we then enhance food productivity in the wake of climate change, because climate change is a reality. It is with us here, and it will for future continue affecting how we produce our food. Just looking at the past, let's say 3 or 4 years in Kenya, for example, we've had one of the worst drought affecting our country, and particularly for the counties in the north, the ASAL areas really felt the brunt of this drought. So how do we ensure that these people who live in the ASA areas become more resilient? So it's important so that we are looking at look at things like more sustainable agriculture activities. For example, can we then look at maybe irrigation? Because if you look at the Kenya's agriculture sector, it's mainly rain-fed dependent. And then this then looks at in terms of it's affected by things like drought when there's no rain. And if there's rain, then the issues around flooding, which then also affect the productivity. So maybe moving towards a more sustainable agriculture practices may then enhance production of food and also increase productivity.
Once again, Abdikadir, welcome to the program. Let's just talk about, we've experienced as a country a very prolonged drought because of successive failed rainy seasons. You're based in Mandera County, one of the arid counties. I mean, the images were all over on how arid and semi-arid counties were affected by the drought. So what is usually the situation when there is drought, and why do you think it's usually recurrent? Because these are some of the counties that when it rains, then we report cases of flooding in these areas. When the drought, when the rains fail, again, we are talking about drought, hunger, and malnutrition. What is the root cause for this?
Thank you very much, Purity. Water is life, water is food. Leave no one behind. Now, how many people are being left behind then? in the arid areas of the north, as you rightly said, drought is no longer what you know as a drought. You know, drought normally in the previous years, 1 rain failure, 2 rain failures, you call them then you get rains.
Yeah.
But when you see a phenomenon where rain fails for 5 consecutive seasons, 5 consecutive years, that is now beyond doubt, is really a catastrophe.
Yeah.
And you have seen what happened during the last drought, the days when I also remember I was on a show here about mitigating the drought in the north, and then we highlighted some of the issues. The issue is, like you mentioned rightly, rain, when it comes, there's a lot of flash water.
Yeah.
By the way, the whole country, let me look at the whole country. We have got 5 rain towers. The Sherigani Hills, Mau Forest Complex, Mount Kenya, Mount Elgon, the Abadia Range. And Kenya is one of the countries which is scarce of water. Is the list. It's only 500 millimeter cube of water per capita in Kenya. When you look at Tanzania, it's like 2,000 per capita. Uganda is about 1,200. Kenya is only 500. Now the issue is not lack of water. The issue is the storage. Do we have the storage facility to harness the water when we receive the rain? The same in the north. When the rains come, they really come in a heavy way, and then they just end up in the Indian Ocean. There is no storage facilities, program for storage facilities. Now, water is a devolved function. In the last drought, the most critical thing was to make sure people do not die because of hunger, water. The food scarcity in the country, of course. The World Food Program is giving food to almost 2 million people in the country, mostly in the north, in the ASEL areas.
Yeah.
Now, water, in the last drought, you know, water trekking, using the water bowsers and that kind of thing to deliver water to the pastoralists for their livestock, for the people, millions and millions and millions of shillings. Mostly, some are funded by the county government. Mostly, it is funded by the donor funds. Do we put those kind of funds together to develop water infrastructure so that we can have sufficient storage facilities for water? The rainfall there is very limited, like I say, and we have been into droughts. Right now there's rain. There's rain in the north.
Yeah.
It is raining, but we don't have sufficient storage facilities. Then the issue of water conservation. The water conservation, in order to attain the food security. The Water Act 2002 establishes the Water Resource Management Authority. In the Water Resource Management Authority, under it, there is what they call catchment area advisory committees. Under it, there is what they normally call the water resource use associations. That is now at the level of the community. What we need to do in order to conserve water as well as manage it properly, we need to deal with the lowest level, the water user resource associations at the water point, and then the catchment area, conservation of the catchment area, proper management of water at the water point would be something that we would be looking at very much. Then the issue for the north, for example, the lifestyle, the pastoral lifestyle, because of the climate change, because of the occurrence of the consecutive droughts now, is no longer visible.
All right.
I know many people will still advocate for the pastoral life of lifestyle, but I think we need to relook at that. Thank you.
All right, and I'll get back to you and you'll tell us why you think that needs, really we need to relook into that and not find ways of supporting the livestock keepers. So let's talk about, I know this year's theme is about water and why water is important in ensuring food security, but actually let me just ask you that particular question. You mentioned earlier that we're not just focusing about food, but nutritious food, all right?
Yes.
But that's when we have 5 consecutive failed rain seasons and there's drought, families most of them don't even bother about what you're eating. It's just like, I just need food to eat. What is the impact of that on health? I know that's not a very good question for you, but why is it important for countries and counties, even here in Kenya, to ensure that the families don't just eat food, but nutritious food, really?
Yeah, so when you're talking about nutritious food, actually it starts with the production.
Yeah.
So what nutrients are within the soil that then feeds the crop, and this is then ends up for us having nutritious meals on the table. And as you've rightly put, when there's drought, I think the first thing that comes to any mind is about survival. So you'll find someone eating anything so long as their tummies are full. But I think we need to move that conversation further to see then how do we ensure that we are producing nutritious and sustainable food for our communities. And as he has rightly said, looking at the north, for example, where majority of the people are actually now pastoralists, and that lifestyle may not be sustainable with the severity of the climate change in that area. I think the beginning point will be to start at the grassroots level, where he's saying, let's try and do a bit of capacity building for the communities. One, to see how do we improve your livelihoods. I may have been a pastoralist, yes, I can still continue practicing my pastoralist, is still fine, but can I supplement that with something else? Because then that will also enhance my resilience. So for example, in the north, majority of the people who own livestock are men. And this, they will leave, go graze the animals. Sometimes if there's drought, they lose them. But also coming back, you'll find they leave behind the women and the children. Can those women and children be given maybe another source of livelihood? For example, can they start farming at a small scale? That one will enhance our food security, in the sense that they may produce, for example, vegetables, they may produce other foods like either cassava, maize, which then supplements that. They could also move a level higher and start rearing small animals like the remnants, the goats, the sheep, which can be sold. Maybe include things like chicken into it, and then that diversifies their livelihood, rather than just depending on cattle and camel, which then if there's drought, then their livelihood is affected. So looking at it that way, then you're trying to move slowly these people to sustainable agriculture that does not necessarily just look at me depending on rainfall, but also looking at how do I, even the small water resource that I have. For example, in the north, is there a way that this community could be mobilized so that they can have water pans? And these water pans could actually then provide communities water for a long time when there's no rain. Because if you look at Kenya, it's a country of two extremes. When there's no rain, actually there's a drought in the north. Lucky enough, some parts of western and all that, they don't experience that. But when now it rains, you also have two extremes. It floods in the north, it floods on the other side where you see people in Budalangi, and that there are all those issues. So I think as a country, us trying to embrace some of these new technologies, for example, drought-tolerant crops. Because I can, yes, plant maize, but in the north, if I know maybe we only have rainfall, for example, in 3 months, we could work with maybe, for example, the Kenya Agriculture and Livestock Research Organization to develop a variety that then can mature within, for example, three months when there's rainfall. So there are solutions that can actually address the issues around nutritious food. But this will call a bit of innovations to do that.
And Abdikadir, is it a lack of awareness or it's a cultural issue? For instance, you said in the north, the livestock keep their pastoralists, for instance, and is it hard to convince them to, get alternative crops to grow? Or is it a cultural issue or lack of awareness? Why I'm saying this, sometimes the meteorological department just comes out very clear and says that, you know what, we are going to experience short rains. But you will see, especially where I come from, they'll still end up planting a lot of maize and they know it's a short rain season. Is it a lack of awareness? It's a cultural issue that I have to grow maize no matter what happens, and what should be done really to change the mindset of people?
It's a bit of both. In the past, it was a cultural issue where livestock, if you have a large herd of camel or cattle or goats, you are seen as somebody very big.
Exactly.
It was prestigious in the past. But since now the droughts and livestock animals are dying and the numbers are going down, then people are now prepared to go into alternative livelihood, like agriculture and crop farming, dry land farming. I know Ukambani is a bit of it has got higher rainfall than us. I know, like Mwingi, it has got 600 millimeters of rain annually. That one is a bit higher, but most of the other plain are almost similar to us. But look, if you are moving from here to Mombasa, the amount of food, the amount of matunda that is produced by the communities being sold on the road, you will be surprised. And that is the kind of thing that, so now then, people are now prepared. But there's the creation of awareness, publicizing. For example, I don't know, many people are aware of this day, for example. In an event like today, if in every sub-county a mobilization is done and the people talk about it and the people are educated and they are told, I'm sure, like the last rain, immediately after the drought, we had one season of rain in April, and that was a very good, and there was a very big harvest. People went and they harvested a lot of maize, a lot of millet, a lot of nyanyas, a lot of what do you call? They did. In the April rain, there was unusually higher food production in Mandera County than before. And preparing for this season, so many people who are looking only for merchandise of the tractors to clear land and are preparing to grow food. So the cultural issue is now dying away slowly. So now is a question of educating the people, mobilizing, and creation of awareness is very important now.
Yeah, and why is that really lacking? I would ask, in a country where people are really seriously facing severe hunger and they are receptive, as you're saying, to change, their daily activities, why is that really lacking? Is it a lack of commitment from our leaders? We have organizations also here providing support, but that lack of awareness is a critical issue that is really being ignored. Why is this so?
The people there mostly listen to their civic leaders.
All right.
And maybe they often get chance to address people and talking that maybe they have 1 or 2 times when they have the opportunity to talk to the people, like Mashuda Day or Jamhuri Day or Madaraka Day, and that kind of day. They can talk to the people, but normally you don't see them people being organized and being educated on particular issues regarding the livelihood. So I think we need to do a bit more on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll also welcome your remarks on why the lack of awareness is not being taken as seriously as it should be. I'm hoping that we are going to have a national celebrations because it's a big day. Honestly, globally, we are seeing global events happening. But right here in Kenya, it seems the agenda, maybe it's different. How serious is this problem that there's no lack of awareness? There's lack of awareness, sensitization among communities. They're not even aware what these drought-resistant crops are.
Yeah, and as he has put, I think what is missing is the link where we pass this information to the communities. So do you have, like, for example, fast adopters? Because see, if I'm talking about adaptation, maybe that term is only understood by a few people.
Exactly.
And I think if I go to the rural community, even where I come from, personally I will struggle to explain it in a local language. So I think we need to take it back and ask ourselves, how do we then take some of this solution back to the community? And I think since agriculture is a devolved function, as a country, maybe we need to ask ourselves, why did the rain start beating us? Because if you look at, for example, the Malabo Declaration, most countries are supposed to fund agriculture by at least 10%. But if I go to all the counties and maybe just do a quick check, I'm sure I will not find a county that has put aside 10% of their budget that actually has gone to agriculture. So one of the things that then maybe need to happen is around extension services. If extension services at the county level is not working, then you'll find a lot of information is not reaching the farmer. Because the farmer also need to have this information so that they're able to make an informed choice. Just a good case of what we've done as an organization, Kenya Climate Innovation Center. We have a program we call the Agribiz program. And this program is focusing on youth and women in agriculture. So we are working currently with counties to try and encourage adoption of more sustainable agricultural practices, where then we're able to identify either individuals, small and medium groups, working with cooperative and CBOs. So then we are taking them through a process where we capacity build them on some of the practices that they need to change within their operations. So if we have been doing business as usual, where I just depend, for example, on rain, is there a way that then I can move to, let's say, irrigation agriculture, but also using more efficient technology? So the little water that I have can actually help me maybe cultivate an acre. Can I also maybe become more intensive? For example, in the ASAL areas where land is expansive, but you could also decide to be more intensive, where you can do still crop, you can still do livestock. Is there a way we could also introduce things around agroforestry? Because one of the biggest contributor to climate change is that we've cut most of our trees within the catchment areas. So if we can also encourage farmers to practice agroforestry, then that will also help the country actually achieve the 10% tree cover, and that will start start reversing some of these effects of climate change. Then the other issue is around also the distribution. You'll find that in Kenya the food basket areas around the Rift Valley, western areas, they may produce a lot of food, but then how do we ensure that this food move also to food scarcity areas, particularly in the north? That doesn't happen. We don't have a proper mechanism of ensuring proper distribution. Then we're also looking at how do we enhance our infrastructure. Because I know in another 1 month in Ukambani area we'll have a lot of mangoes. But then you'll go to the markets and all those mangoes go to waste. Because you realize no one has taken an initiative either to do value addition, where you can either dry these mangoes, convert them into mango pulp, and that then enhances value and also more income to farmers. Or maybe putting up a cold storage facility that enables some of this food then stay for a longer duration. Also looking at the infrastructure, how do we ensure that food then moves? Because sometimes there are areas where the challenge is about the infrastructure, where there may be no roads. So this food can also cannot move very fast to the market, particularly the perishable ones. So if we can address some of these issues, then